literally defriend you if you make a 1-carb waffle. Like, I will kick your shit out.
I've never done that.
I'm gonna get you like a Burger King hat and I'm gonna tape lettuce to it and just put it on you.
'Cause I think I'm falling in love. I think I'm falling in love.
Welcome to today's video, guys. I have Sam in today's video to help me out with this macro. Bailey's like, what was that? With this macro question, I got a DM on Instagram that says this. In a video, can you please talk about what you do if you go over your macros? As if, do you adjust for the rest of the week or the next day or not do it at all? How often do you not hit your macros? And maybe talk about the mentality of not hitting your macros. I'm having a terrible eating day. I already went over my macros at 2 p.m. and I'm feeling down about it. I think that is a tough part about counting macros and trying to be so on point with your diet that it can mess you up mentally and make you feel upset if you mess them up. You've been doing it for long enough, so I think this would be a good video for you guys. And we haven't tracked macros for like forever.
Yeah, a minute.
Literally for a long time. So we've kind of been through like, you know, doing things a certain way, like tracking whatever, like we've gone through the phases and we definitely understand that as far as like having a bad mental day when it comes to being over your food. So the reason why I'm having Sam in this video, she like kind of reminded me of this DM that I got because yesterday you didn't eat as much yesterday because the day before you ended up going over your macros,
Yeah,
right?
I was traveling on a flight, so I was like, kind of like, it was an overnight flight, so the days kind of get all messed up. So I ended up going over that night, so I ended up kind of like adding on some of yesterday's food to today's food.
So it's kind of like balancing out. So
Right.
I think the first part of this question is what do you personally do if you go over your macros? So I think that something that I recommend for people who are beginners is to just like not try to do this yet, not try to like compensate.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely wait until you get the hang of it. Like we've been tracking macros for years, so I feel like if I know that I went over it yesterday, today I might like easily just subtract 20 or 30 grams of carbs, whatever I went over yesterday. But if you're a beginner, I would say that try to pre-plan would definitely be like the best option. And then that way you know like what foods make you go over your macros so you don't do it as often. But like do you compensate carbs for fats, or like if you go over 30 grams of carbs, do you just subtract 30 grams of carbs, or do you like swap it out for fats? Like what do you personally do?
I like to keep it to carbs for carbs, like how it was the other day. I went over, I think it was just like 15 grams of carbs and like 5 or 6 grams of fat or something. So I just took that and basically exactly put it into today, or into, I guess it was yesterday.
Yeah, it's yesterday, but the day before you put it into yesterday.
Right, exactly.
The following day, basically.
Yeah. This is more like as you keep going into it, like this doesn't matter so much when you're first kind of starting, or
Right.
if you're on like a cut, and it's just more about like your calories, but like, you know, additional carbs will make your body like retain a little bit more water and
Right.
stuff like that. So that's why the macros themselves can make a little bit of a difference. So if it's possible, I always try and keep to the same.
Yeah, and I think
macro.
people ask that all the time, like, oh, well, if I went over my fats today, can I just subtract fats? I mean, I went over my carbs today, can I just take out some fats? You could do that because, like, the end of the day, it's definitely calorie balance is, like, the main important thing, but, like she said, it comes to, like, carbs, you know, retain more water, obviously, than fat does, so you might weigh a little bit more the next morning, or, like, you might feel a little bit more bloated. So if you could mentally deal with that, then fine. But I do the same thing as Sam does, like not so much now because I'm not training for anything, I'm still injured, so I don't really care too much, but like, you know, when I was cutting for a meet or something, I would try not to do that, but if I did, I would keep, you know, carbs for carbs and fats for fats, and we never have problems with protein. I feel like we just love protein so much. Okay, so that was the first part of the question. How often do you not hit your macros?
Like I said before, like there's kind of a different season for
Yeah, that's
everything.
exactly what I was just
Like,
gonna say.
There's times where like I would definitely like estimate if I went out to eat with people, or you know, if I'm just on the run and like, oh, I'm just gonna grab this and like assume that the portion size is correct without weighing it. Like there's times like that where between all the estimating, I'm sure my numbers weren't exact, so I wasn't technically hitting my macros. And there's kind of a time and a place for that.
Yeah, I think people who are like just starting out, what I always recommend to my clients too is to like play with MyFitnessPal. It is literally your best friend. Like at night when you're just like, you know, going to bed or something, put different things into your day. And then once you have like the different things, then you go back and adjust the portion. So like, you know, you put in your protein first, like your, you know, your chicken for lunch, whatever, your protein powder, whatever you're doing. And then let's say it puts you over on carbs. Now you know, okay, I have to go back into that protein source that has too many carbs, like a protein bar, delete that and maybe swap it out for like tuna or something that has no carbs. So it kind of becomes like a math game or a puzzle game that at first can seem really intimidating, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes to like swap things in and out. Like I have so many things memorized in my head, like literally nutrition labels that I could like recite to you because I've been logging them for so long. So like that becomes more easy, and then eventually when you do that for so often, you don't really miss your macros too much. You do it so frequently that you know, like I know for me personally, I have to eat like 4 meals of real food and then either like protein popcorn or a shake post-workout to hit 130 grams of protein. Like I know no matter what way I do it, if I have salmon, then I gotta have chicken for lunch. I can't have salmon and like tuna with avocado, it's too much fat. You know what I'm saying? So like you get used to doing it like that, but I don't know, I feel like I'm the same way. Like it's just a seasons thing, like you said. I don't care too much about like, oh, I didn't hit it on the gram. But if you're cutting for something, then it's maybe necessary to do that.
And especially if you just started and you're really looking for a certain result. Like when I very first started tracking, I was 58. I like weightlifting, so it's weight classes and stuff, but I was a 58 for a long time, and then I went through some stuff and ended up gaining some weight. I was like 61, 62. I was like, okay, I want to cut back down to 58. So that's when I signed on with my coach, and that was the time where like I'm cutting and I need to get to a specific goal.
Right.
So it's like, especially if you're just starting and you have a specific goal, and whether it's a weight specifically for a weight class, or if you're just like, I really want to lean out, I want to look good for whatever you want to look good for, or just for life. It's, you know, it's cool to look good for life. You have to understand your expectations based on what you're putting in. So if you're not gonna, like for me, when I'm not gonna be accurate, I have to expect that I'm gonna gain weight. I'm gonna feel fluffy. I'm gonna feel like, oh, like, you know.
I think that when you put in that extra effort, then you have like a learning phase.
Right.
Because a lot of people will say like, oh, I think I eat this amount of carbs. And then I'm like, okay, take every single thing and just log it without adjusting, see what you ate. And then they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that this has so many carbs or this has so many fats. Like it always is an eye opener for people. So if you are just starting, I think we both can agree that it's a good idea to spend a little bit of time, if mentally you're okay with it. It's a good idea to spend time tracking everything that you eat, just so you know, because now like you get to that point when you're doing it for a long time that like I can say, okay, this has that much in it, this has that much, wing it, and it's fine. Talk about the mentality of not hitting your macros, having a terrible eating day. Already went over by 2 p.m. and feeling bad about it. Okay. So this part of the question is good because I think this is also a seasons thing. And I think that it's actually good when this happens to people. I know for me personally, and you just said this when you ate your chicken last night. So like I feel when I have a week where and this happens to me like quite frequently, I'll be like, I don't even want to track, like I don't care, I'm just gonna eat intuitively, whatever. It ends up being about the same macros anyway because I eat the same shit all the time. But then once I eat like couple donuts and like I splurge on this and I kind of feel like nah, I'm like, okay, well, tomorrow's a new day. I'm gonna eat good food tomorrow. I'm like, you just had that happen last night. She like ate whatever, and then when I gave her the plain chicken, she was like, this chicken tastes so good. I think it's like a good thing for people, like to
it's
have.
almost like if you, I think what I said was like, it's like, man, like those times when you like accidentally eat like a shithead, like it makes you really appreciate the bro diet. You're like, oh, so clean.
Yeah, like I am health. Wow. So if you have a bad day, like you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it as like, oh, I'm a failure, like this is never gonna work, blah, blah, blah. But I think that you could turn it into a positive and you could say, okay, this is what I did wrong today. Let me not do that tomorrow and let me try to eat whatever that's different than yesterday to learn from that and then start over fresh. Like I never say that people should like F their whole day when they mess up or go over their macros. Obviously you can adjust, like if you go over by 60 grams of carbs, there's no need to eat like an additional 80 grams if you're already over, you know? But like the next day, if you're a beginner, just start fresh. Like don't worry about it. It's not like one day is not the end of the world.
Especially if you're like just starting, I would say try not to adjust your own stuff too much. Like even now, like I'll try not to do too much of that like self-regulating as much as I do like trying to just focus on what my coach tells me, because like especially if you're just starting out, like it gets really messy when you start blurring the lines of the days and like, oh, let me just take that and put it onto today, and then like kind of setting yourself up for just confusion or being starving the next day, or you know, sometimes it's just nice to take a clean slate. I had my fun yesterday. Let's do this now. You know?
Right. And Chrissy Cagney told me, and she always says this to her clients too, is like 7 good days are better than like 5 perfect ones and 2 shit ones. Because a lot of times people have this problem on the weekends. Like they do okay during the week and then everything goes out the window on Saturday and Sunday and then they feel like they're starting over on Monday. So like instead of being so rigid Monday through Friday and being like obsessive like to the gram, it might be better to be a little bit more flexible for the entire 7 days so you don't feel like you're constantly going through that cycle of like, I messed up, okay, I'm starting over. I messed up, okay, I'm starting over. Like you kind of want to keep it like, what do you guys say? An even flow. Is that what you say? I don't know.
Ebb and flow.
Ebb and flow.
Yeah.
What did I say? Even flow? I don't even know what that means.
You know,
Just like, yeah, but that's like how it is, but with everything in life. Like that, if you can't expect to track macros and think that you're gonna hit everything on the gram every day. Well, like that's how people get obsessive, and I think that's how it becomes unhealthy. So you want to avoid
you end
that.
up with like your macro burnout. You know?
Yes.
Like,
You're trying to be so on point with your diet that you mess up mentally and you feel upset if you mess up. Yeah, I think that kind of just relates to what we just said, like trying not to be in that vicious cycle of like screwing up and starting over. And I think truly like people don't want to take the time to pre-plan because it is very tedious and it does take a lot of work, but I'm telling you, it is so helpful. I can literally take my clients' intakes, like they'll say to me, you know, send me an email and be like, okay, I have 70 grams of carbs left, but only 3 grams of fat. And they have already pre-planned some stuff. Well, okay, go back into the stuff that you added that has a lot of fat, remove that, and then sub it for carbs. Like it's literally just like Tetris, like putting things, taking things out, putting things in. Like that's how I tell people to look at it. Once you get the hang of it, it's so easy. The last thing that we think that we should mention, we just realized, is like volume eating. Emma's the queen of volume eating.
I'm just like a lunatic. Like I love feeling full.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't feel full, I get mad.
Well, because it's an easy way for beginners to unintentionally waste macros. And what I mean by that is like what you just said about the oatmeal. Like people don't realize, first of all, I think macros, counting macros, tracking macros teaches you the serving sizes to begin with. People might not realize that 40 grams of oats is really not that much. Like it's a really small amount. So if they accidentally put like 60 or 70 grams of oatmeal, they're up to like 50, 55 grams of carbs. And then they're like, oh, I have like no more carbs left for the day. You learn volume foods, you can do like what Sam said, even though
Disclaimer,
it doesn't taste good.
Just as an example, that's all I'll do is I'll cut the amount of oats and cook cauliflower rice with it, like plain cauliflower rice. I don't put any savory stuff in there. And also add like cinnamon and like throw a sweet and low in there. I know it causes cancer, but I like sweet and low. I'm sorry. You couldn't do this if you're like just starting out, because you're gonna what's the word? You're gonna disappoint yourself. But if you're like deep into a cut or something and you need some volume, just like little tricks like that can kind of like save you when you like need to feel fuller and you're like really like, I want some freaking oatmeal, but I can't use 30 grams of carbs all in one place. Like I was like that for a while. Like
yeah, I remember that.
You know the thing with the 1 carb waffle. This is relativity, like looking at it, protein powder does not have very much volume for the amount of protein in there. It's a tiny scoop and it's got 30 grams of protein. So if you're really wanting to make the most of your calories, of your macros, like instead of doing that, make like a humongous freaking egg white scramble with throw an egg yolk in there. Who knows? Get crazy. Turkey sausage, like some veggies. Throw some hot sauce on top. I use like the Taco Bell taco sauce because it makes me feel like I'm at Taco Bell. Like really, like it makes it more fun, but you're getting so much more volume, and you're really gonna leave that meal like, oh, I feel so good. Not like crap, I'm still hungry. Like what can I eat now?
I think that is why like learning about the foods is so important, because like when you have that knowledge, you know how to apply it in order to succeed with your macros, basically. Like, ooh, that's a good title for this video, how to succeed with your macros. Got it. That's just like a really good tip for people to learn, because if you don't have the knowledge, like, and you want somebody to do it for you, then you don't actually have like the tools you need to succeed. And that's why like I started coaching, because I feel like there's so many like macro coaches or regular coaches out there that just give people numbers, and then people don't know like what to eat, how to fill it, how to adjust it, and then they fail because they don't know what to do. So you have to learn, you have to want to learn when you're tracking macros.
I think like there's so many ways that you can like kind of hack a meal based on how much volume you actually need to. Like I'm just thinking of like if I do like a stir fry or like something like that, like, you know, like make your chicken, your veggies, whatever, and then like think of like your base carb in the bottom. Like there's so many different options. Like you could do like your rice, if you like have a lot of carbs left, get a good serving of rice, get like 50 grams of carbs from your rice. Or if you're like, like I kind of, or like if you're like, I have 0 carbs left, like I have like 3 carbs left, like you can get 100 grams of zucchini noodles for 3 grams of carbs. Like, that's a miracle. Like that's amazing right there. But then
I think that's good. I think those are really good tips. That was, yeah, dude, you're so awesome. Anyways, that's where we're gonna wrap up this video. I hope it is full of information for you to help you succeed with your macros. And if you have any other like suggestions or questions, definitely leave them down below for us because we want to try to like be as productive as we can this week with our video. Yes, so much footage. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and Sam will be around in the future videos this week. So stay tuned. I love you guys, and see you in the next one.